So welcome to the startup session, the E14 Fund startup session. We have today about, I think, 18 startups who are going to come on stage and pitch to you. And they are from Boston, New York, and some of them also flew in from SF. So my name is Habib Haddad, and I'm the managing partner of the E14 Fund. So I want to tell you just a bit about myself and then more about the fund and how I came to this, because every time I see someone from the community tell me that you have the best job, how did you come about being part of this community? I actually have a very, very quirky road into the venture world. About 15 years ago, I moved to Boston to start a company here in CIC, not too far from here. It was actually an MIT spinoff, in an image-based modeling startup. And we did that, we raised a bunch of money, we did it all wrong. In fact, I met one of the professors here, Joost, who I think people know Joost. And when I saw him, he said, I know this company. It's actually, I teach it in my course about what not to do. So that was my first failed attempt. Fast forward, in 2011, I had sold my last company to Yahoo, right in the middle of the Arab Spring. I'm from the region, I'm Lebanese, and all my friends who were entrepreneurs and geeks in the region suddenly became leaders of the movement, of the revolution. I got super excited about the energy there, but disappointed about the outcome. And therefore decided to move back to the Middle East and start a venture fund there and use the energy of Afro people to something more productive. Meanwhile, the director of the Media Lab had joined. I had known him from before. He was a mentor in my previous startup. And as he was part of the Media Lab, he thought that there ought to be something that not necessarily under the Media Lab, an entity whose job is to help commercialize and help spin off companies from the lab. So I was involved a bit on that. And let me tell you a bit more about the thesis behind it. So as member companies, you know this very well. When you come to the lab, you see researchers and students working on really amazing technologies. But often these researchers and these groups are working maybe 10 years in the future, 20 years in the future, something that might not really have good applicability today. But often what you find here, and as Andy Lipman said the first day, come with an open mind, you see a particular research and you get inspired and you say, well, this is something that could be applicable today. And you start nudging the research towards something that is a bit more commercializable. And when you leave, what happens is that researcher, their brain starts working. And eventually, when they leave the lab, they decide to take what they learned, some of the inspiration from you, build a company. But for many of the member companies and the startups, that connection with the Media Lab kind of stops there. And so the initial reason of the E14 Fund was to keep that relationship going. For the startups, back to the community we got inspired. For member companies, back to the commercialization projects that are going. As you know, the motto of the Media Lab today is deploy. It used to be demo or die, then became deploy or die. And then, as Joey Ito mentions the story when he met President Obama a few years ago, and he said deploy or die, and then he was advised to change it. Therefore, he removed the die. I should just get demo, deploy. So today, let me tell you a bit more about the format. So we have a bunch of startups talking, and we have two main talks from two founders that are a bit more in a mature stage in their company. But I think what's really interesting to me is in between the talks, they meet the founders. So each of the companies, as they go on stage, they have 3 minutes to present their company. And then after that, they will go off in the wild, and we'll have about 20 minutes where you guys have the chance to go and talk to them. I know it's only 20 minutes, but at least we'll give you the ability to schedule a meeting in the future. And so today is an experiment as a 2-hour event. Next year, we plan on making a full-day event where we'll have panels and talks, including startups and from the community. And also, in addition to that, as member companies, we want you to get engaged. How can you get engaged with us? It's through mentorship, through becoming advisors on some companies, through helping us on particular workshops, even sometimes through investing or co-investing with us. So if you'd like to reach out to us, on the paper that you have in front of you, there's an email that you can reach us there. With that, I'd like to first invite Rana Kaliouby. And Rana is a founder of a company called Affectiva. Rana was actually a researcher at the lab, spun out from the lab with the research, was there as a research senior in her company, and eventually became a CEO. But I think to me, what's most inspiring about Rana is actually not her work. It's actually her being a super mom. I had met her kids, and they're like one of the smartest kids ever. And 2 months ago, she did an event here called Emotional AI. And as I was walking, I see her kids here. She actually asked her kids to take time off to come and geek out with robotics and artificial intelligence. With that, I invite Rana to come on stage. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rana Kaliouby, as Habib just made the intro. If you're ever going to have an investor, Habib is the best investor ever. So Affectiva is funded by E14, and we're very fortunate to have Habib and E14 and help us re-engage back with the Media Lab. So a little bit about Affectiva, and then I'll dive into the 5 trends that we're seeing in the AI space. So as Habib mentioned, my own background is I grew up in the Middle East. I have a PhD in computer science and machine learning from Cambridge University. And towards the end, my career plan was to become faculty. And towards the end of my PhD, met with Professor Rosalind Picard, who pioneered the affective computing space with the thesis that machines in the future need to understand and respond to human emotion. Met her, we clicked. She invited me to join her group at MIT Media Lab, and so I started about 10 years ago at the lab as a postdoc and a research scientist with this goal of becoming faculty. Now, as you know, twice a year we invite all our sponsors and our members for, when I was back at the lab, it was called Demo or Die, it's now Deploy. And at the time I was focused on building sensing platforms, emotion sensing platforms, with a particular focus on mental health and autism applications. So twice a year, I would show and demo all the autism technology we are building, and you members in the audience would kind of say, have you thought about applying this technology in advertising research or content testing or product testing or automotive or robotics? And I kept a log of all the different ideas that I kept hearing over the years from the members of the lab. And after about a few years and 20 of these different ideas, Roz and I made an appointment with the Media Lab director at the time. This was before Joey Ito's days. And we said, we need 10 more research students. And he said, no, this is now a commercialization opportunity. It's time to spin out of the lab. And so we did. We realized there's a big commercial opportunity here. We spun out. So Affectiva today is on this mission to humanize technology with what we're calling artificial emotional intelligence. We're venture-backed. E14 is one of our investors, along with a number of strategic and financial investors. And we've been in the market commercially for about 6-7 years now. And it's been, we're recognized as a leader in the AI space. We're very fortunate to have very strong ties with MIT. But it's been fascinating watching the speed and the rate of innovation in the AI space, especially in the last 2 years. And so I wanted to share with you today kind of what are some of the trends we're seeing, and maybe try to decouple the hype from what's real, and talk about 5 trends in AI. And you could think of them as criteria that you could use as you look at AI companies and start to evaluate them. So the first is around impact, right? What is the impact that these AI companies are working on? Some are very marginal, but some, and you're going to hear from a lot of these startups and spin-offs from MIT, are quite exciting because they are applying AI to a domain or an industry in which it was not possible to do this before. Autonomous driving is an example, natural language understanding, and for Affectiva, it's about building computers that can read and respond to human emotions, just the way humans do, through conversation, through gestures, through expressions, tone of voice, with the goal of building systems that can adapt to human emotions in real time. And the applications are just massive. We are disrupting industries, automotive, market research, education, mental health. And there's so much opportunity here that this is now a category within the AI space. It's not just one company like Affectiva that's focused on it. The second is around algorithms. So I'm sure you've heard about deep learning a lot. Deep learning has allowed us to leverage massive amounts of data without a programmer or a coder or a machine learning scientist coding for every possible scenario. But it's now, we've come to the time where we can move beyond deep learning, and deep learning is almost table stakes for a lot of what we do. Some examples of where the world is going beyond deep learning: model compression. Deep learning is very data hungry, but can you build models that can, especially in an edge computing world or embedded devices, can you build deep learning models that are very data efficient? Unsupervised learning is a big one. At Affectiva, we've collected about 2 billion facial frames from 87 countries around the world. Only a small subset of it is labeled. How can we leverage the rest of it to optimize and train these emotion classifiers? Reinforcement learning is super exciting. There was an article today in Business Insider on the new version of AlphaGo. AlphaGo in the past was entirely supervised, so a human player bootstrapped the learning of the system. And the new version, it uses reinforcement learning, where it basically learns on its own by optimizing a reward function and kind of optimizing for these positive outcomes. So it's very, very exciting. The way it manifests for us is if you're programming, a robot or a virtual assistant like an Amazon Alexa to respond to its user, you want the system to be able to respond based on the emotional and mental and social state of the user, but you don't want a programmer or a developer to code for every possible scenario. You want it to kind of learn on its own. What's an empathetic response? What's an appropriate response based on the different scenarios it's being exposed to? Evolution strategies is a scalable alternative to reinforcement learning that's also very exciting. If you're in the AI space, you'll recognize that it's not just about the algorithms. And I'd say that's a very big shift that we've seen in the past couple of years. We found that Affectiva, almost by accident, by collecting all this data, this has become a core competitive advantage for us. It's not just the volume of the data, but it's the source of the data. It has to be real world, it has to be spontaneous, the context matters. So we do a lot of work where we watch people kind of consuming content online, but we also are in the automotive space. So we've had to install cameras around Boston and Tokyo with our partners to collect data from drivers. So data is really, really critical. We're seeing an evolution in the role of machine learning teams and machine learning scientists. When I was doing my PhD years back, my role as a machine learning scientist was more of a feature engineer. So I spent a lot of time trying to articulate what exactly should the software or the algorithm look for when it's processing a face for facial expression analysis. And now it's more of an end-to-end learning system. If you're using deep learning, the role of the machine learning scientist becomes more about being thoughtful about the data and how you organize the data, sampling strategies, parameter tuning, model optimization, with a very, I have a thesis that machine learning scientists with an applied lens on the world, which is what the Media Lab is really good at, are more successful than just pure theorists. We're also seeing a whole new class of jobs around data. It's not just a data scientist, but data strategists who are responsible for data acquisition, data labeling, data annotation, data insights, data infrastructures. So that's been a tough kind of class of profiles that we've been looking for at Affectiva, and I know that this is kind of a shared response with other startups in the AI space. And then the last trend is ethics, and again, my view is ethics is the new green. You know how in the past 20 years, if you're an organization and you're prioritizing being green, that wasn't just the right thing to do as a company, but also the smart thing to do. I think in the AI space, companies that prioritize ethics are going to end up being smarter. And I'll give you an example specifically around bias. So we were putting slides together for this talk. We just Googled, image of people, diverse set of people. And this is the image that came back. If you look at it, it's not really diverse, right? We deploy our technology in 87 countries around the world. And if this is the type of data we used for training, I assure you, when we deploy it in Africa, where there are people with dark skin colored, it's not going to work. So it's really important to be thoughtful about avoiding bias when you're training algorithms. And again, it's the right thing to do socially, but it's also the smart thing to do, because when we ensure diversity in our data, when we're training these algorithms, the accuracy and the robustness is a lot higher. Data privacy is a big issue as well. Again, in our case, all of this information is identifiable. It's your emotional data. It can be easily used to manipulate decisions. So we guard that data very clearly, and we have a lot of dialogue around what applications are morally and ethically correct, and what kind of are, what's not. There's a lot of dialogue around workforce impact. Again, as a startup, we try to be on the forefront of these conversations, and Habib referenced the Emotion AI Summit, which Affectiva put together at the Media Lab last month, because we wanted to be on the forefront of these conversations, and I encourage other AI companies to do that, even though it may not result in the next sales opportunity or the next partnership or the next investment. So just to wrap all this up, as an AI company, you want to prioritize impact. You want to think about algorithms, but it's not just the algorithms, it's the combination of the algorithms and the data. You want to think about your team, especially again around data and applied AI, and prioritize ethics. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you so much. I'm Joe Chung. I'm a E14 venture partner and a Media Lab alum and serial entrepreneur. I think I have the distinction of having co-founded the first unicorn exit for a Media Lab spin out with a company called Art Technology Group back in the 1.0 days. I think I also have the distinction of being the first dropout from the PhD program at the Media Lab, but and the two may be a little correlated, not entirely sure. Anyway, this afternoon I have the privilege of introducing the next batch of unicorns, and certainly some will be among them. And this is a pretty rapid-fire format, so it's only 3 minutes. Each group will just introduce themselves and go through it. And if any of you see me standing over the edge here, kind of waving, that means you've probably run over your 3-minute mark. But without further ado, I'll let you get right to it. So first up with the Sync project.
Hi, I love being first, no one to outshine, so it's great. I'm Yadid, co-founder of the Sync project. We created a platform for utilizing music as precision medicine, and we're focusing now on pain and sleep. And this is a grim picture of the current state of affairs in the US. More than 30,000 opioid-related deaths, more than car accidents, more than gun deaths. 1 out of 4 users become addicted, and it's costing us hundreds of billions of dollars. And so the question I have is, can music be used to deal with pain as effectively as a pill or oxycodone, for example? Let's turn to the brain for some answers. Not this brain. This brain. Let's look at the pathways that are stimulated by these types of painkillers. So the pathways that are stimulated by amphetamines and cocaine and other painkillers are the exact same pathways that are stimulated by music, right? That's pretty impressive. So the dopaminergic circuitry, the part which is in charge of pleasure, reward, pain, is stimulated by those same things. So can music reduce pain? Let's turn to science for an answer. Yeah. So 4,000 studies worth of science say yes. So they did an analysis of using music in post-operative care, and they found that 1, music can help reduce pain, 2, reduces the use of opioids, and 3, improves patient satisfaction in general. So that's a resounding yes from the science part. But can we actually use music in the real life world setting in hospitals? And we've built a platform to do just that. Our platform gets data from a variety of sensors, contextual data, user self-report, and we generate music both on top of the existing streaming services and as well as generative algorithmically based music, and we stream it to a wide variety of devices. And we're now testing this in hospital. We're the first company to do this. So we have a study now that's starting to run at Brigham and Women's for patient control analgesia to see how that's infected by music. Second study at Boston Children's Hospital with adolescents. And we're also starting a study at Tufts Dental School of Medicine for wisdom tooth extraction, seeing how music affects pain there. And so in order to realize this vision, you need a real team of impressive scientists, artists, engineers, and I think we have the right advisory board in place. You may recognize some of the faces there, Peter Gabriel, St. Vincent, to name a few. And our next product is coming out in the next few weeks. It's called Unwind. It's going to help you sleep better. Go to syncproject.co, sign up for the beta. It's already available. And let's do more music and less pills, if we can.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff, founder of Giant Otter, a company that grew out of my research in Deb Roy's group here at the Media Lab. Our first product is called Rep AI. It's a technology for one-on-one dialogue with your customers 24/7 at scale. To give you some context, start with a personal story. When I moved into my house, Verizon installed a box on the wall. I don't know what this box does. After a couple of years, it fell off the wall and made a high-pitched sound. I didn't know how to make it stop. I had to call customer service. After spending over an hour on customer service, I eventually found the one person who understood what this box was and how to stop the noise. I wished I could have solved the problem myself by going to the website. And Verizon does have a chatbot for this purpose. It wasn't able to understand what I was asking it. And I'm not trying to bash Verizon. I know Verizon's a member company. They have a really difficult problem. They're a giant company, thousands of employees, huge number of users, complicated product line. So how can they possibly take all of this idiosyncratic knowledge from thousands of reps and distill it down into something self-serve for their customers? That's exactly what Giant Otter does. We take phone call recordings, transcripts of phone calls, chat logs, and learn a conversational model that can power a chatbot. And this is our reimagining of what the Verizon experience could have been like. It's like a conversation with a person. You express yourself naturally, and in a few turns, the bot can narrow down what the problem is and arrive at a solution. We do this with a set of tools that let us map transcripts of real calls into a simpler format. And with only 100 transcripts, we can learn a model that can begin talking with customers and continue learning over time. And once we've learned this model, it can understand what people are saying and look into a database for responses that real reps had in similar contexts. I wanted to mention we're starting a beta at the beginning of 2018. We're looking for companies within November. We're going to be making selections. We're reserving 2 spots for Media Lab member companies, so please get in touch if this is interesting to you. Thank you.
Right. Hi, I'm Liz, CEO of HiOperator, and we provide customer service as a service. So we're not a chatbot, and we're not an outsourced headcount solution. We're an end-to-end solution, which means that if you email one of our clients, you're actually likely to get a response from HiOperator. So scaling customer service is difficult, right? When it's largely a bespoke and apprenticeship-based industry where old workers do everything from memory, and then your new employees have to struggle with outdated documentation. So when your company is really small, one agent can do everything. And then when there's too much work, you hire another agent, and the existing agent trains the old agent the old-fashioned way. And then as you grow, you'll hire another and another. And then soon, some will quit and move on, and you'll have to replace them so you don't have any service interruptions as you carry on. This means that you often get stuck in a vicious cycle where you hire these agents, you train these agents, and then when they quit, the knowledge walks out the door with them. So we deal with all of that. The companies that we work with train HiOperator as if they're training one additional customer service agent, and then we can scale from anywhere from half an agent's worth of output to as many agents as they need. So we deliver scalable customer service by executing support workflows on demand, and then we charge per execution loop. So we're at this unique point in time where it's really easy to access commoditized labor online, whether that's through Upwork, Mechanical Turk, something like Fiverr. These people are really great at simple tasks like answering a survey or maybe tagging a photo. But how do you get them to create more complex processes out of these simpler tasks? So that's where we come in. Imagine an iPhone factory. No single worker in that factory knows how to assemble the entire iPhone. But because of the way that these specialists are configured, and these stations that they're put in, together they can put together an incredibly complex hardware product. So similarly here, we create an assembly line for services. So we take complex customer service processes, not just the front end where you speak to the customer, but the back end where you actually process what needs to be done in the different systems, and we break them down into well-defined self-contained steps. This means that we can then crowdsource these steps out to agents who just do one specific task. So you can have a mom in the Midwest hop on, for example, and just create FedEx returns or maybe browse photos to find where there are actual defects in the product. And then what we do on the back end is we reconstitute these tasks together to reconstitute these larger, more complex processes. Processes for e-commerce companies, by the way, are actually fairly similar. We find that they're about 80% the same. When we integrate and onboard someone, we're really just clarifying the edge cases that make them different on a policy level. And we're also automating this. When you have tasks that are well-defined and self-contained where you know the exact input and the output that you're expecting, they're easily automatable. As we execute these processes, we're tagging both the text as well as the processes to create a proprietary set of structured training data that's far more valuable than just unstructured text. So there's a lot of talk about AI in customer service. If you believe that automation is the future of customer service, we believe that the first step is actually standardization and defining a common language for customer service processes. In a sense, you're trying to industrialize an industry before you can automate it. So this is the team. My co-founder and I met here at the Media Lab about 7 years ago. And we're HiOperator. We're about a year old. We're profitable, and we're on the path to automating customer service. If your company serves customers, we would love to chat and learn a little bit more.
Hello, I'm Dan. I work for a company called Luminoso. Luminoso is a platform for natural language understanding. And the basic premise is this, is that if we can train a system to learn language like a human learns language, then we can enable other systems to understand and interact with human beings on a much deeper level. But let me give you a couple of examples of why this is important. So the first one we affectionately call the wet dog problem. We were working for an automobile manufacturer, and when we were looking for insights in their data, what we found was that a number of their customers were complaining about a particular odor in their cars. But they didn't describe it the same way. Some people would call it a wet dog smell, stinky, funky. You can imagine how they describe this smell. But using Luminoso, we were able to align those concepts and understand the scale of that problem so they could institute the corrective actions and remove what ended up being a water leak and a mold problem in one of their vehicles. So, all good things, but certainly needing a robust contextual understanding in order to achieve it. The next example is a video game company that we work with trying to automate their contact center. The big problem they have is that nobody that uses their contact center knows how to spell the word legendary. And so what Luminoso does is looks at words in terms of how they're used instead of how they're spelled. And through that capability, we're actually able to double their rate of deflection for this particular call center. makeup manufacturer, retailer, was looking at why their employees were churning. And unexpectedly, the main indicator of churn within this environment was employees that mentioned the term gratis. Gratis is their internal term for free stuff, basically, which is counterintuitive when you think about it. You know, why would you expect that your customers that are mentioning the free stuff are leaving more often than the other customers? And the reason why this is an important and this is a challenge from a language perspective is that you need to design a language system that is unsupervised and unbiased in order to discover those types of unexpected results. Now, I can go on and on with a bunch of different language examples, but at the end of the day, all I'm really trying to communicate is that language is complicated, and so we need a system that learns language based on context, the way that human does, looking at how the words are used, and then using your experience, your past experience, to understand word meanings and word relationships to get you to that next level. So how does that help our customers and potentially you out there? What we do is we give you a platform for understanding and leveraging the expressiveness of language and making your applications better and smarter as a result. Finally, Luminoso is available as an independent platform for text analytics, but quite often we're also integrated to make other systems smarter and more able to understand natural language as it's found in the wild. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Good afternoon. My name is Birago Jones. I'm the CEO of Pienso. Pienso means I think in Spanish. Pienso is a machine learning platform that's been made for non-programmers. So we're living in an era of enormous data, and like many of you, we're all trying to figure out how to organize that data to produce value from it. But it can be expensive to manage, deploy, and integrate machine learning into a company's existing infrastructure and applications. So Pienso is made to address solving that problem. Pienso is a user interface that allows researchers, business analysts, marketers, and other knowledge workers to directly train our algorithms using their own data. In short, Pienso is UI for AI. Users can upload or connect to their structured or unstructured data sources, then train the model with their perspective, context, and intent. And then once trained, Pienso turns that data into a structured, queryable knowledge index, indexing all of their data. Then users can create classifiers to address new data and easily deploy their trained model across their enterprise applications using our API. Pienso makes a black box of AI transparent by providing what we call an ML audit, a machine learning audit, which is able to detail how the algorithm is derived all the insights from your data. And in summary, Pienso is, again, it's a self-service machine learning platform environment that's made for non-programmers. If you're very interested in working with us, we'd love to work with you. We're already working with a number of Media Lab sponsors, and so we'd like to work with you too. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Good afternoon. My name is Jemel. I'm one of the co-founders of Wise Systems, and we got our start right here at the Media Lab. So nowadays, consumers and businesses increasingly want things delivered to them fast, and they want to know exactly when those deliveries are going to arrive. And this is putting a lot of pressure on the companies that do those deliveries to meet these demands while maintaining the efficiency necessary to keep costs down. So now, companies typically spend hours each day creating plans or delivery routes that look something like this. The problem is, on the day of delivery, things can and will change. And whether that's due to traffic, weather, canceled orders, late or on-demand orders, or full loading docks, or anything else, the day of delivery with all your trucks on the road looks a lot more like this. And this is why it's so difficult for companies to meet high service demands while maintaining the efficiency necessary to run their businesses. So that's why we created Wise. At Wise Systems, we provide route optimization technology that helps companies deliver goods and services when they are needed most. So we are unique in that we approach route optimization in 3 distinct phases. So first, we help companies plan optimal routes around all of their constraints. But then, we help them execute those routes by providing real-time technology that helps them dynamically adapt around changing circumstances on the day of. And then finally, we apply machine learning to learn from what's actually happening on the ground and use those insights to drive better planning and efficiency in the future. With our technology, we've helped big companies like AB InBev reduce their numbers of late deliveries by over 80%, while also increasing efficiency by over 15%, helping them save millions. We are always looking to talk to customers who are interested in the future of delivery and logistics, so please reach out. Thanks.
Hi, this is Dawei. I'm from a Boston company called Waylens. So we are a vision solution company specifically targeted for automotive technology. So our original passion and motivation was thinking that today the driving was really boring, was really insecure, and still very old school. And how can we use vision technology to make our driving more fun, more secure, or safer, and more intelligent? So we started the company as a consumer product company. So our product line exactly follow our passion. So fun first, then secure, and then intelligent. So I will start by showing you a video introducing our existing product on the market.
The Horizon Automotive Camera System is designed to amplify your fun behind the wheel. Consisting of a high-precision camera, OBD2 transmitter, one-click remote, and mobile app, the Horizon lets you overlay vehicle performance data and lap times on full HD video. The included Waylens Studio software enables you to customize your driving experience and share right from your mobile device or desktop. Your best moments are only a click away, making it easy to drive, capture, and share. The new Waylens Secure 360 is a breakthrough in automotive security. The innovative 360-degree camera sees everything going on in and around your vehicle, even when parked. Utilizing advanced sensor fusion technology, the Secure 360 provides intelligent event detection for weeks at a time without draining an unattended vehicle's battery. The 4G option enables automatic uploading of event video to the Waylens cloud and keeps evidence secure. Instant alerts and real-time video monitoring through the Secure 360 app offers complete security in the palm of your hand.
Just to recap, so we are not really a dashcam company. So we are actually building advanced technology for our products. The first one was more like GoPro for cars, GoPro plus data acquisition for cars, so you can easily edit the video and share it with your social network. And the second is more like a Nest Cam or Ring for cars. So we bring home security application to your car so that you have a peace of mind. But really think about it. Are they just a dash cam? If you imagine thousands or even hundreds of thousands of cameras like this are deployed on the road, there are really eyes on the road, and it can enable a wide range of applications. There is a gold mine in the vision data, in the vehicle driving data, so such as road signs, such as vehicles, such as lane, and for the 360 camera, it can also look at the driver, keeping the driver in the loop, understanding who you are and what your driving status are. Are you tired? Are you distracted? It has wide applications, so ever since we released our consumer products, we are actually collaborating with map-making companies and self-driving companies and using our technology and products for data collection and basically map-making and self-driving data collection and corner case collection. Yeah, so if your company is related to cameras or traffic or vehicles, I think we are all we're looking for partnership opportunities as well. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Glynnis Kearney, and I lead product and strategy at Gamalon. Gamalon is an artificial intelligence company that specializes in analyzing customer language. And we do it in a way that is fast, that's flexible, and that's auditable. Gamalon was founded in 2013. We've spent several years building out our proprietary machine learning platform through the largest investment from DARPA in the last 4 years in next generation AI. The problem that we're solving is that 80% of enterprise data is unstructured. It represents a huge amount of value for companies, but they're simply not leveraging it. Even though this data could be used to understand feedback about products or connect with customers, companies are finding that AI can be just tremendously costly to roll out in a way that, that works for their company. As an example, a customer utterance like this one could potentially take tens or hundreds of thousands of training examples to understand because of all of the nested ideas and layers that are within it. What Gamalon does is we approach AI from a different direction. We view it as a layering of different concepts and ideas rather than a bunch of training examples. And as a result of this different approach, we can understand an utterance like this with only 100 examples rather than thousands. This can translate into a huge amount of value for companies. So as an example, we are working with a telecommunications provider. And previously, it was taking them many millions of dollars and 50 people to create all the training data that they needed to automate a process. And we were able to automate that down to a week with almost no human effort. And we were able to achieve 2 times the accuracy. So if you're interested in kind of how to roll out AI in an enterprise environment in a way that saves time and money, please talk to me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much to our entrepreneurs and our startup companies here. Startups exist at the intersection of talent, markets, and money and resources. And I have yet to meet a single startup that actually ended up doing what they thought they were going to do when they started. So I think that kind of random walk intersection of ideas and markets and resources is why we're gathered here all together today, and where all of you come in. So, all of you have seen these things, and maybe there's one idea that you thought, hey, that's kind of cool, but we could do something so much more with that in our business. Or there's someone else you should really be talking to because I know someone who could really do something with the kinds of either ideas or the talent or the directions you guys are flowing in. And those conversations are just incredibly valuable. So we're going to take a breakout now where we're inviting all of you to sit down and meet with the founders here. We're gonna soak up the first 2 rows of tables here, and each of them has a little piece of paper with their company name on it, and of course you've got the handout so you can see which company is which, and they're just going to pop that down there, and I invite all of you to find the companies that you're most interested in that you think you could help with or brainstorm with or in any other way intersect. Also, I should mention, as you probably noticed, there was a bit of a common theme here, a lot of artificial intelligence, software and services. That was intentional. And the next session, which my colleague Calvin will be moderating, is really focused more on hardware and manufacturer systems. So you'll see that happening in the next panel. But we'll break for about 20 minutes now and go to that next session. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Calvin Chin. I'm the West Coast partner on the E14 fund based in Silicon Valley. How'd you guys think that went so far? How's it going, huh? Okay, great. As Habib mentioned, this is a kind of an experiment, so we're definitely looking for your feedback, and we'd love to see how we can improve things. So with this next batch of companies, we're going to dig into digital manufacturing, and we couldn't think of a better person to lead us in than Max Lobovsky, the co-founder and CEO of Formlabs. But before Max jumps in with a perspective on digital manufacturing and the future of manufacturing, I thought I'd just give you a couple more perspectives for E14. So from the West Coast, I often get asked, well, how are you doing an MIT Media Lab affiliated fund out there in Silicon Valley? And so I would say my role out there is to help be a point of service for all of the community here. And so whether that is member companies based outside of Cambridge, or whether that's startups that are relocated now to Silicon Valley or parts west, or when companies come out west for fundraising or looking for partnerships or customer opportunities, those are all ways that my job out there can be of facilitation. And so I think that's maybe a point worth kind of reiterating, which is E14's role is really to be this connective tissue, this conduit. And as far as investing in new opportunities, we're always co-investing. So we're looking for ways to collaborate with investors and other partners too. So with that, though, we'll take another view on some of the other kinds of opportunities that we see at E14 Fund and within the Media Lab community. So we saw artificial intelligence and machine learning, and now we're going to see a little bit more on manufacturing.
As mentioned, I'm Max Lobovsky, co-founder and CEO of Formlabs. Just a little bit of background. I was a student here with the two other co-founders of Formlabs, Natan Linder and David Craner. I was in the Center for Bits and Atoms with Professor Neil Gershenfeld, and we were always looking at new types of fabrication and how we can combine computation and fabrication to kind of achieve new possibilities. And so we started the company to basically get better access to high quality professional 3D printing to more people. And so that's kind of what we've built. So we make a printer, we make the software that drives it, we make the materials that go in it, and basically give you a complete end-to-end system. So to date, we've shipped something like 35,000 printers and 15 million, and those printers have printed over 15 million parts for our customers. And just a little more information about the company before we kind of dive into a broader view of future of manufacturing, where we are today. About 350 people, most of them here in Boston, also manufacture around the world and shipping products around the world. So manufacturing, first of all, let's, normally when I speak to people about 3D printing, kind of assume that they understand why you might care, but I'll dive into that a little bit more. So why 3D printing, and more broadly digital manufacturing techniques in general, which kind of defined as applying computing to manufacturing. There's a few big reasons. The ones that I think are the most interesting, number one, the biggest one, is customization. To be able to make products that fit individuals better, that are more customized for different styles, tastes, regions, needs, many different reasons that you'd want a product to fit. And this is something really important because most of manufacturing has trended towards making more of one thing rather than making more types of a thing. So being able to kind of fight that trend is a powerful thing. Faster time to market, if you can avoid tooling or other kind of startup parts of the process, you can bring products to market faster. Redundancy, if you're using many kind of identical units to produce something rather than one very high output piece of tooling. And in general, more agility in manufacturing, where you can have less inventory within the supply chain, make things as needed, change products as needed. So this is why you should care, basically. So now talking a little bit more specifically about 3D printing, where is 3D printing in terms of producing higher volume stuff? This is one very simplistic way to look at all the things that humans make. Humans make a whole range of different things across different size scales and across different volumes. So we make some very high value specialty stuff in quantity one, like satellites or expensive cars, to mass-produced items up to hundreds of millions or billions of items, of identical items. And I think 3D printing has already proven itself as being very useful and important for making 1 or 10 or maybe 100 of something. But is it applicable to all this other stuff that we make in much higher volume? So there's at least one good example that's gotten a lot of press in the last couple of years. That's this GE fuel engine nozzle for their next generation jet engines. Really exciting, uses new metal 3D printing techniques and achieves higher performance and a lot of these great benefits. But it's actually not terribly high volume in the grand scheme of things. So are there any examples of 3D printing being used in high volume? I think this is an important question because if we want to see more of it, we should try to find at least one place where it's happening. And there's one really good example. It's this thing. This is an Invisalign clear dental aligner. And these are made in quantity of tens of millions per year. Basically, it's a type of braces that will fix your teeth. And they need to be made to fit your teeth exactly. They're not printed directly, but every single one has a different printed pattern from which it's made. And so this is kind of an amazing example. This company is now crossing $1 billion in revenue with all of their output based on these parts that are made with 3D printing. And it kind of really shows you a great example of where you want that customization down to every single part being different to gain some benefits for our product. But unfortunately, it's sort of like a standout example where it's far ahead of the next kind of biggest thing in 3D printing. So will we see more of this, and what does it take to move 3D printing further into production? We think there's kind of 2 big directions that will enable that, two things that 3D printing technology needs to advance in that will allow it to be applicable for more high volume production. Number 1 is materials, because ultimately if your part has different requirements about its mechanical properties or biocompatibility or all kinds of other things, and if you don't have those, if you can't meet those requirements with the part, you can't make it with 3D printing. So there's a lot of new applications that are being opened up through better materials right now. 2 kind of interesting ones. One big area is in shoes. Most shoe companies are now trying to apply 3D printing to their production. This is a specific example of a partnership that we're working on with New Balance, where we're printing the plates of these athletic cleats. And again, the benefit here can be in customization and also in time to market and flexibility in their supply chain. They make, even though these are mass-produced items, they make so many different varieties. So 3D printing allows them to get more variation, fit your feet better performance, all those things. But the key challenge here is you need some really high-performance materials to survive on the bottom of a cleat as you're running around on it all day long. And so that's kind of the key innovation that can open up that application. Another really good example is back in the dental area. These are 3D printed dentures. And a denture is really demanding in terms of materials because it's got to be very biocompatible and mechanically capable. So this is another area where we're pushing 3D printing to new applications with new materials. The other big area is reducing the cost per part of something that's 3D printed, because today, typically, 3D printing is more expensive than other production methods. A really good example of that is on the left, we have 3D printed hearing aid. This is actually fairly common today, fits your ear better than a conventional hearing aid. But we're all walking around with earbuds that don't fit and are not comfortable. Why don't we have 3D printed earbuds that fit our ears? We believe it's largely because they're just too expensive to become a mass consumer product now. The hearing aids cost thousands of dollars. So it's a great example, and there's a number of startups working on trying to make that happen at scale. And if we just want to talk about how bringing down cost enables new technologies, the best example everyone likes to talk about is in computing, where the dropping cost of the transistor opened up a huge number of applications for computing. And Media Lab, in large part, has kind of been built on building out those applications. but most of them stemmed from this dropping cost per part, that if computing wasn't getting cheaper and more available, they wouldn't have been able to do as much with it. So, we saw computing go from mainframes in big companies all the way to supercomputers in our pockets. And so we see kind of a similar analogy with 3D printing happening over time, where the price is coming down, and the applications that are done with 3D printing today are the ones that are higher value, a prototype or a one-off tool or something like that. But as we can bring that cost per part down over time, more stuff will make sense to be 3D printed, and we can get all those benefits. And so as a company, this is kind of one of our main focuses, to bring down the cost per part of things made with 3D printing. And by that, take 3D printing from prototypes to all sorts of high-volume produced parts. And there's a lot of elements to this, bringing down the cost of the equipment. That's something we already put a lot of focus on. We make fairly low-cost machines, but there's also the cost of materials and the labor that's involved. So one of the big things we're doing in this area is something we call FormCell, which is an automation system that runs multiple printers and takes out a lot of the labor, which actually drives a lot of the cost in 3D printing. But this is just a piece of the puzzle. And in general, I think it's going to require work across the whole industry, hardware, materials, software, to bring down the cost per part and bring 3D printing into more applications. And I think that's going to be a really important part in the future of digital manufacturing. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Wonderful perspectives on the future of manufacturing. So next up, we've got a batch of companies. We're going to just rapid fire through them again. And a reminder, at the end of that time, we'll have a chance to meet with the companies. Before we get started, though, there are a few empty seats up front. I think there may be some people in the back who are either seated on the ground or standing. So there are some seats up front. We can make room for folks. But if not, let's get started with Ori.
Hello, good afternoon. So I'm Hasier, founder and CEO of Ori, which is a spin-off out of the City Science Group on the 3rd floor. Now let me start with this. Most of the people in this room have something in common, and that is that you are coming from some of the most dense, expensive cities in the world. New York, San Francisco, Hong Kong, Boston, Shanghai, and that comes with a challenge. Now, if you live in one of those cities and you are not a millionaire or have a lot of money, you have to make a choice, okay? And the choice is you move as far as you need to from the city center in order to afford a place. It's called suburban sprawl, but now you need to, spend a couple of hours in your car every day. Or if you want to live in the city center, where most people want to live, you need to live in a tiny prison cell. And if there's someone from Hong Kong, you know what I'm talking about. So this is the challenge. Now, how is industry, how are companies tackling this challenge? The issue is that there is a huge dichotomy. And a lot of these companies are sponsors of the lab. So you have two camps. On one camp, you have furniture companies, designers, architects, looking at, new materials, new designs of furniture, new foldable beds and tables. And then on the other camp, you have, IoT. Everyone knows about IoT, smart thermostats, smart lights, smart everything. But guess what? There's no category in IoT for furniture, walls, and architecture. And this is about to change. So welcome to a world where furniture has superpowers. Think about, for example, a tiny 300 square feet apartment or 30 square meter apartment where with a finger touch, or voice, your mobile phone, even gestures, your bedroom could become a walk-in closet, or your walk-in closet could become into a big living room. What if a space could transform in the most effortless ways? What if all of this could be customizable? So the same design you see here could be customized to different users, profiles, demographics, even cost. Think about putting literally a computer in every single piece of furniture, so that now furniture, walls, architecture can talk to other smart devices. So all of a sudden, your apartment becomes almost like your home app store or your office app store, where you customize the functionalities you need and you transform the space almost the same way you move apps in your tablets. Now, the exciting piece here is that this is just an example. This is an apartment. But think about smaller apartments, bigger apartments, office spaces, hotels, dorms, even hospitals, because urban space is too valuable to be static and unresponsive. So if any of the companies wants to talk after this, happy to discuss ideas about how we can bring, superpowers to furniture and spaces. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Hi everyone, my name is Nan-Wei Gong, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Figure 8. I graduated from the Responsive Environments group on the 5th floor, and we are building a wearable platform that help you to discover the hidden link between stats and performance. So what does stats and performance mean, really? If you look at this guy on the left, he is Tom Brady, the year of 2000. And the way that NFL is drafting players, it's called the NFL Combine. It's almost like picking a cattle. You play someone on stage and look at their form and stats. And he did so poorly, he almost didn't get drafted. And now at the age of 40, he's the best quarterback ever in the history. So what we see is that form and stats today really can't tell you about future performance. Something is wrong about the ways that we evaluate performance. We see like people who can jump the highest, we see people who can run the fastest, but what performance really means is body movement control. So in order to capture all that and say like, I know how to measure performance, there are a system that, a system needs to be able to measure coordination by quantifying neuromuscular control. We need to see strength by measuring force and explosive movement. We need to track flexibility by tracking range of motion. And lastly, we need to see like stamina. How do we optimizing efficiency? So this is the implementation from us, a wearable system that can really capture all that. We have a really lightweight version of wearable that is really modular, so you can put it in different parts of your body. Not only it tracks the skeletal movement, it also tracks the muscle movement and also your ligament movement. So really what we're presenting is a lightweight, very low-cost device that we can have 1 or 10 or like even more for full body tracking or partially body tracking. The reason why we're doing this is because just imagine if you have the perfect machine but not any software to drive it. We want to find the perfect movement sequence to help people train, to help people move better. And our system, right now we have been developing it since January this year. It's still a new company. We finished our pilot production. We made this sensor kit that comes in 2 form factors, in a tape or it's easily integrated onto your clothing. It can tell the muscle and joint laxity movement down to like 50 micrometer resolution. And so it's really modular, really accurate. So it's just the beginning, because once you have the HD view of your body movement, there's so much more that we can use it as the input to tell you how to fine-tune the output. You can improve what you can measure. So we want to present this system that can measure the best than other systems. And our go-to-market strategy is we're working with sports teams and we're starting pilots with NFL, and hopefully that we can bring the use cases to many, many other horizontal markets. So email me and find me after this if you have any questions or want to see a demo. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rana. I'm a graduate of MIT. Spent a lot of time here at the Media Lab, both as during doctoral time and for postdoc. Many of you make things. If you make things in your company, we might be able to help you. The way we do this is through Behold, the future of manufacturing, where it's fully buzzword enabled. There are you have industrial Internet of Things, Industry 4.0, predictive analytics, machine learning, etc. This is probably not what your factories look like. They're more likely to look something like this, where you have an enormous amount of manual processes that are part of the operations, everything from quality management or just passing along the knowledge of how things are made from one person to another. So it's within this context that Tulip is trying to solve fit a hole what we've seen over and over again within the manufacturing environment of there really not being a tool for the manufacturing engineer to deploy to the shop floor and help their operators do the best job. So what we've built is a platform for manufacturing engineers to build applications, deploy those applications to the shop floor for operators to use, and connect these to different pieces of equipment and machinery very easily, completely self-serve, without having to do any kind of programming. So you start with some kind of process, you build an app, and out of that we pull a whole bunch of data. That data can then be used to optimize the operations on the floor. And so this platform really fosters a lot of continuous improvement efforts on the floor. It's something that closes a feedback loop between an issue to a solution there. We are now deployed across 9 different countries in a variety of different industries, primarily in discrete manufacturing, everything from the apparel industry through medical devices, pharmaceuticals, electronic box build, automotive, aerospace and defense, and the list goes on from there. The impacts that the system has had on the floor come in three main categories. One is improvements in production efficiency, just being able to make more stuff faster. The second is in quality, to make sure that you're making better quality parts that go out the door. And the third is about training new employees or cross-training existing employees from one process to another. So being able to do that cheaper and at a much higher speed. So that's us. We have a little demo set up on the 5th floor. We can show you that as well.
Hello, my name is Andres, and I'm a co-founder of WeightX. Our mission is to make cutting-edge strength training accessible through the use of technology. When I first started weightlifting, during my first year, I gained 50 pounds of muscle, I got a lot stronger, and I really felt great. But during my second year, I barely made any progress. It's just frustrating. Since I'm both a researcher and a total nerd, I decided to look at scientific articles to find ways of overcoming this plateau. And it turns out that sports scientists have developed sophisticated training methodologies that lead to significantly better results. But the problem is that we lack the ability to use these methods with conventional equipment. If we think about it, we're still lifting rocks to get stronger, just like the ancient Greeks. We can overcome these limitations with the WeightX Pro. Our device uses an electric motor to create resistance, eliminating the need for cumbersome weight stacks. It uses algorithms inspired by robotics to adapt the resistance to your particular needs. And it records metrics such as velocity, force, and power so that it can track your progress and give you the best workout that you can get. One example of an advanced training method is called auto-regulation, and it's been proven to give you more resilience to injury while increasing your maximum power in a safe manner. Here, our system automatically detects when you're getting fatigued as you exercise, and it automatically decreases the weight in the exercise in real time so that you can squeeze in those extra reps that really make the difference. It's a game changer. Now, this is a video of a strength coach at UCLA who is training with auto-regulation to make his pull-ups a lot more effective. You can see our device on the bottom giving him resistance. I want to highlight that our device can be attached to a variety of surfaces so that you can do all sorts of exercises, ranging from squats, deadlifts, all the way to triceps extensions and more. It really is a one-stop shop. We're working with the most influential strength coaches in the nation to test our device and make their athletes train better than ever before. But our long-term vision is to take what we learned from strength coaches, leverage their endorsements along with some of pro athletes, and build a device targeted for consumers, especially fitness enthusiasts. We're not a classic hardware company by any means. Similar to Peloton, our business model leverages a subscription to our software platform so that we can grow in a profitable manner and with exponential growth. Our team is passionate about fitness and technology, and our diverse backgrounds span business and engineering. I'm confident that training with WeightX is going to give me the best results that I can get while allowing me to bust through any plateaus. We're going to set up a demo over here afterwards, so come check us out if you want to experience the future of strength training. Thanks, everyone.
How's it going? My name's Tom Barron. I'm co-founder, CEO of Lumi. We're an MIT startup with 3 PhDs as co-founders. I got my PhD in electrical engineering. Matt and Daniel got their PhDs here in the Media Lab. What we're focused on is helping businesses deliver holographic experiences to their end users that their end users can experience without wearing special glasses and that they don't need special equipment to produce. So I think one of the things that we often think about amongst ourselves is sort of the fact that 3D is going through this massive content explosion right now. So, what we do, you can look at things like online 3D repositories, which have gone from 10,000 online models that are user-generated to over 1 million. You look at things like 3D scanners, which is proportional to the rate of incoming 3D content, right? And that's growing massively. But this is dwarfed by something that happened basically in the past 6 or 7 months, which is that now there's over 40 million 3D scanners in everyone's pocket because the iPhone 7 Plus, 8 Plus, and 10, those dual camera phones are now depth sensors with the iOS 11 update. So basically what this means to us is that the barriers to acquiring and sharing 3D content are massively dropping. And what we're focused on doing in the company is lowering the barriers to view 3D content. So what we're doing is we have a service that's encapsulated in an API where people drop in 3D data that can be an OBJ file, for example, or a depth map. And the service runs special algorithms that we developed, and you can print those, you can take, out of the algorithm comes patterns, and you can print the patterns using regular printers to create holographic prints. So the basic model is that 3D data goes in, magic happens, patterns come out, and they can be printed using any number of print shops which are available in the world today. Payment comes from the end user, and then we pay the print shop. And then the print shop fulfills the order and delivers a assembled hologram back to the end user. Now, our customers are not the end users. Our customers are businesses with multiple end users. So we have a revenue sharing model that incentivizes our customers to acquire additional end users. So we're rolling this out basically as a platform service, and platform services have a whole bunch of different applications. But what we're focusing on very intensely are 2 very specific applications. One, just because of the iPhone, in the next month or so, you'll be able to download an app where you can take a picture with a 3D scanner, order a print which will be shipped to your house. But another thing that's very interesting for us is security printing and consumer packaged goods. So what we can do in that space is we can say, okay, the printing press that you're currently using to print your packaging or security features, you can use that press with our software, and you can create holograms that are more secure, they're lower cost, and they're higher quality than any type of holographic printing that that is available today. So if you're doing anything in CPG or security printing, please talk to us. We'd love to talk to you. Thanks.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Orkin Talhan. I'm the co-founder and the chief design officer of BioRealize, and we make new kinds of prototyping tools for the bioeconomy. So in the past 10 years, I'm sure that you're aware of the fact that biology is becoming the new digital. Fabrication is changing. The way we make plastics, the way we make clothing, the way we make food is highly influenced the way we work with living organisms. So what you're seeing on the screen is new kinds of fibers that are grown out of spiders, milk that is grown out of yeast instead of animals. So we are really changing the way we make things. So this is a big industry that is, it's a $1 billion industry that's growing every year, and it's the fastest growing industry in the US economy. So what is in common of all these different products? Now we work with biologists and scientists. We come up with different ways to program microorganisms. This means that we put DNA inside these organisms and then come up with new kinds of chemicals which can then be prototyped into new materials, new kinds of food, new kinds of biosensors, which then get scaled up in traditional fermenters for mass manufacturing. So we are inventing the way we make new kinds of products, but 3 different stages: research, prototyping, and production. But currently, there's a problem in this innovation pipeline because research is expensive. You have to rely on manual labor, a lot of manual training for scientists to become experts in biology, or you work with mainframe-like computers. Biology equipment is expensive, it's very specialized, and more importantly, those tools that allow you to innovate with biology is not necessarily accessible to the layman on the street, meaning media lab researchers, meaning designers, architects, product designers, they don't have access to tools to really make them push technology. And the last step of the puzzle is there's really no way to standardize the way with biology. We cannot really create recipes which can then be handed over to big infrastructure, big companies to scale up our production. So our solution to this is we built an all-in-one bioprototyping tool. You can imagine this, the future of a 3D printer. It has, it's a completely new kind of prototyping paradigm. So the way we work is that you don't have to know that much about biology. You can load DNA and organisms on one end to a platform, which can then put the DNA inside the organisms and then cultures them and actually makes products out of them, and then you can utilize them. So I brought a prototype machine, so you can, after the talk, you can take a look at this. I think the video got a little bit clipped. So the main message is how do we digitize biology so that the way we design organisms is very much the same as we design buildings, we design clothing. So we design everything software, and then we use a very low-cost prototyping tool. We are talking about less than $5,000, very cheap, so you can have them networked all around in different places of the world, so you can share recipes and information, and eventually output right away what you have grown from the system. So you can basically very much design, test, build the same way you do 3D printing or laser cutting. So it's a new way to think about bringing digital fabrication into digitalized biology. So we work with 3 different arms of researchers, industry, designers. We have 25 companies that are already accepted to test our equipment. We already know that the space of lab automation is $6 billion, but we have seen Formlabs presentation. This is a very big industry. Once we arrive to the place of how to make every person who can use 3D printers use biological prototyping, then it will be a huge market and a huge innovation space that we can all get excited about. It's a team, we are a team of 3 people. I am a designer, we have a biologist and a systems engineer. And at the end of the talk, you can find me and I can explain you how everything works, and I can demo the equipment. Thank you very much.
This is Laura. She's an expert lab tech fighting cancer at the front lines. On a perfect world, she would spend all day, every day, helping cancer patients in the lab. But in reality, she spends 20% of her time in a conference room, writing standard operating procedures and training new hires. That's $200,000 of lost productivity every year, but it's the only way to capture and transfer her unique expertise. And Laura's not alone. There are millions of frontline experts just like her in labs, in hospitals, and manufacturing facilities trying to transfer their knowledge using the same inefficient and antiquated techniques. Those techniques, they simply don't capture or transfer all of the tacit knowledge and skills of those frontline experts, resulting in billions lost every single year as workers try to recreate the same wheel. I'm Umar, co-founder of and CEO of Waypoint, and after speaking with almost 300 experts across dozens of industries, we have a better way to transfer knowledge. We use augmented reality to help frontline experts capture how they work, where they work, while they work. And this is how we do it. With Waypoint, an expert puts on an AR headset, launches our app, and simply describes her step-by-step process as if she was just training someone new. Our software watches and listens and does the rest. Behind the scenes, we capture audio, visual, and importantly, spatial information about how they do their work and where they do their work, and then translate that into detailed steps with pictures, videos, text, and locations that can be output in whatever format our customers want, whether that's simple static documentation all the way down to fully holographic workflows, solving the content creation problem. And our customers love this, including Laura's employer, Mitra Biotech, who's using our software today to help them rapidly scale their groundbreaking process for providing personalized cancer care. And the results from our pilots, they speak for themselves. We're 4 times faster than traditional techniques. Our processes capture twice as more critical information that was previously lost, and we allow businesses to capture more processes than they could ever before, all at a fraction of the cost of traditional techniques. Now, we're starting with labs, but we know what we're building is important across all process-heavy industries that'll only get better as the underlying hardware improves, because the opportunity here is massive. Office workers already have amazing tools for knowledge management, like Slack and GitHub, but those tools just don't work for frontline experts. That's why we built Waypoint, to serve the needs of the 1.5 billion people who don't have those tools and unlock a $32 billion market opportunity. And our award-winning team from MIT and Harvard are uniquely positioned to do it. I've spent 15 years working at the front lines of software innovation. Varun was on the core team at Microsoft that built the HoloLens headset. Sarah is a product designer, 3D animator, and she researched AR here at the Media Lab. Mike ran his own VR content studios, and Jan was a lead engineer for cutting-edge games like Guitar Hero and Skylanders. So we're Waypoint, and our mission is simple: to unlock the next stage of human productivity. If you want to learn anything more, please come out and find me. Thank you.
Well, that concludes our startup pitches. So thanks again for a wonderful but brief introduction to each of those companies. We now have the opportunity to follow up. So the companies will make their way up towards the front here. Some of them have product demos as well, so please take advantage of this opportunity to connect. We understand that time is short, so if you use these few minutes to find another time to connect, or of course you can reach out to Habib or myself or Joe, and we can also put you in touch with companies in the future. Thanks otherwise for participating in this experiment with us. We welcome your feedback and looking for opportunities to collaborate. If it's any added incentive, in about 20 minutes we'll have some wine coming up too, so hope you guys can make some interesting and meaningful connections. Thanks again.